Hey guys, this is KEnODvT here, bringing you a ladder match between me and Sid, the Red Protoss. This is a PvP on the map Tal'Darim Alta A. I have no idea, I'm just going to call it Tal'Darim Alta. Let's get this party started. Now, in my quest for Platinum, which I'm very, very close to, I ran across this guy, and we had a fairly epic PvP, and I'm just going to kind of let it unfold and commentate on it as it goes. Now, my default strategy that I was planning to do this game was a Forge Fast Expand, and I'll just let you see what happens. So, we are in the closer spawning positions than Diagonal, but I don't think that particularly affects much. It makes his third over here a little harder to take, and my third a little easier to defend, but that's about it. I mean, my other third is closer to him and his other third is further away from me, so I don't think it makes much odds. The biggest difference is I scouted right, he scouted up, so he got a lot of scouting information very, very quickly. So that was not particularly a good thing, and he was able to just get all the information he needed to figure out what I was doing. So I was going for Forge Fast Expand, which is the way I do it: 16 Forge, and then 16 expansion, 16 forge, 17 pylon, 18 cannon, and you just start placing down a line of cannons after that, and then at about 20 I get a gateway. But it was disrupted. He did do something to slow me down, disrupt me, that kind of thing. So as we can see, my probe is just pittering on across the map, so I don't actually know what he's done yet. We can see he's putting down a forge. I haven't put down my forge yet, but it is on the way. He said in post-game when we were talking about it, because it was a fairly epic game, we were both fairly happy with it, that he had intended on forge fast expanding, so he didn't actually do that. He just started to cannon me a little bit, and you'll get to see how I deal with that in one minute second. So food-wise, he's a wincy bit ahead of me. However, he does have 350 minerals just sitting there, and that's going to be spent on this pylon and a couple of others. So I did manage to get the information I needed to see that it was coming, and I did pull a fair amount of workers, maybe a little too much, but enough to deal with the problem. And Sid now just trying to defend his pylons while I try and take him out. He did do the right thing in that he placed enough of them that it would be very, very hard for me to do my bit. What I needed to do right here was stop his guy from placing these cannons, because if he hadn't placed any cannons, then he couldn't have... If I had killed the worker, then he wouldn't have been able to do much, and as you can see, the worker is quite low, and that is fairly possible. So at this point, I'm kind of crapping my pants, being like, what? So I'm taking out this pylon, and then I'm going to take out the next pylon, but by then the cannons will be up, and then all hell will break loose. Essentially, I just got cannon rushed in the worst way possible. So he does manage to get a few free hits on my probes, but not an amazing amount, and yeah, so here's the point where it all starts to go skewy and get interesting. Now, at this point you essentially have a contain. He's keeping me in my base. It's going to make my life a little difficult. So, in a contain situation, your first thought is break the contain. And I do that the entire game. I keep going, keep trying, and let's see what happens. Now, my other thought is that he's going to be focusing all of his attention right here. So I thought, ooh, I'm going to be sneaky. I'm going to go cannon his base. The cannoner will be cannoned. And I do manage to slip a probe out, and he's kind of microing all over the place, trying to get some cannons in my base, which I'm not going to have here nor head nor tail of, and I'm coming here to try and stop it. But I am able to get a worker out. I think at this point I sent this worker out and I was like, I should probably expand, and I didn't end up expanding. It probably would have been a good idea had I expanded. He may not have found it for a while, and that may have saved me, but at the current time I was like, well, I should just produce some units, so that's what I was doing. I still had the thoughts of I should cannon the cannoner, and so here goes my probe to try and do that, and as as I suspected, his attention was elsewhere. I also got to learn that he did take an expansion, so at the moment he has the expo advantage on me, and he does have this very, very nice contain sitting right here, which is actually very nice. I mean, it keeps me all locked in. The cannons have a very nice range around, and I managed to get my pylon in. Now if we pause it and look at his vision, he can't see me, I can't see him. So I did place them fairly well, and rather than try and be aggressive about it, because I had no idea of what forces he had, I decided to put a cannon first, which is always what you want to do. You want to put a cannon next to your pylon before they know about it, because then they can't stop it with workers, which is what you generally have to do. Now, interestingly enough, he doesn't actually have an army at this point. Like, no zealots, no stalkers, no nothing. I have a bigger army. He just has this massive wall of cannons in my way. Like, if I'd gotten 6 or 7 zealots, walk them straight out, 2 into his base, and I would have won the game. But at this point, he's kind of taken up a bit, getting his cyber core, and this is where my cannon gets noticed. So at this point, not exactly sure what's going through his head other than crap. And I'm going to start creeping my cannons forward now. He was going to pull his workers, but that probably wouldn't have gone all too well. Instead, he just main-arted to his expansion, I think. And yeah, I'm now starting to fall behind in the food count, 27 to 38. Income of 38 harvesters, 21, so he does have a clear advantage. However, this amount of harvesters is over saturation, whereas my amount of harvesters is getting pretty close to full saturation. Minerals only, anyway. So I'm now cannoning his base, and I've been quite effective, and one of the things I would like to note is that I was a bit more effective than he was. With 4 cannons, I managed to lock down this entire expansion area. He needed 7 to do it, and I think he was just a little bit excessive with these cannons, while I was a little more subtle. I probably didn't even need 2 cannons here. 1 cannon would have done. So I put down 3 gateways, just pumping zealots, trying to get a defensive force up, because I figure he's probably expanded and all that kind of jazz. But this is not a bad example of what to try if you get contained. This is a cannon contain, so it's different from a tank contain, but the principle is the same, and the principle of get out no matter what is a good one to follow. And the principle of the containee is to make sure that they don't get out. Like, as the containee, you should have vision on every single expansion you have. You should make sure that you know if they've taken an expansion. Another good thing he did was he did put down a Stargate right here, which puts me in a very, very bad position, because it means that I have to get stalkers, which I don't even have a cybercore up yet, so that could have very easily ended me. Now, fortunately for me, I was thinking, well, what would I do in this situation? Air, because then you don't have to walk past all this defense, you can just go around the back and harass. Now, interestingly enough, and this did interest me a lot, is he decided to take my natural. I don't know why, but he decided to do so, and this was my first attempt at breaking his contain. I had a fair amount of zealots, and I did manage to push down the first 3 cannons, and he cancelled his expos, so I put on a fair amount of pressure and slowed him down a bit. At this point, I probably should have gone round and then hit his base, because he wouldn't have had anything to deal with it. Like, had I been able to see what he was doing, that's what I should have done. Now, he does have a Stargate on the way, so he would have had a Void Ray. Sorry, he does have a Void Ray on the way, so he would have had a Void Ray to deal with my zealots, but that still doesn't really help the fact that I would have been wrecking his economy. And right now we see that he was trying to put a bit of a wall in between me and the outside world, and he does that fairly effectively with 2 forges, or he tried to anyway. I stopped them with my zealots. He now does have range with sentries, which is putting me in a bit of a bind, because I don't. At this point, if he'd actually pushed in with his Void Ray, he would have won the game. Because I had no stalkers, I had no nothing. I started building stalkers in response to his sentries, because I knew I needed range. So if this Void Ray had come in as soon as it was built, and he hadn't warped in stalkers, that would have been GG, because I built my stalkers in response to his Void Rays. So Now we see he's just kind of walling off a bit, making sure I'm very well contained, which is a good job. At this point I do have 2 Stalkers, so the Void Ray isn't particularly a problem, and I do manage to deal quite a lot of damage to it. It did get 1 kill, not exactly sure on what. The other thing I do is I stick my, I know that this pylon is in range of Stalkers, so I stick my Stalkers and put them on hold position. That's kind of important. At least I think I did. No? I don't think I put them on hold position. Okay. Well, I should have. Hold position is really what you want to do in that kind of situation, because you don't want your army being... No hold position. Maybe the hold position doesn't show, because I know I used it sometimes. So I'm now trying to pick off these walls and cannons and things that he's doing. He's, I did manage to supply block him by doing that, which was quite funny actually. He does have a grossly, wow, that is a lot of probes. He has like bazillions of probes, all mining on one base. He probably needs to expand right now, which he does attempt to do, which he does do in my natural. It's quite funny, isn't it? So he's put down an expansion in my natural. I'm not exactly sure why he didn't like take here or anything like that, because if he had, it would have spelt disaster, as it were. I'm now having to deal with the fact that he has Void Rays in my base. The Void Rays are charged, which makes my life fairly difficult. And why is it playing at normal? Don't know. Speed it up to faster. We do see he has a Phoenix out on the map now, which is quite interesting. It kind of locks down the air for me, and he can produce them a bit faster than he could normally. So I'm just picking off these 2 forges, and I think I did a good job there. I was making sure to have the ultracated position. He did put down 2 more cannons, and I nearly took out one. It's now on 17 HP, so that's not particularly hard, and I'm trying to push out a bit, like hold my own. He is pushing into the back of my base, so I have to deal with that. Here comes the main art of workers, and here's the point where I lose the game. He's now mining off 2 bases, I'm now mining off 1. At this point, the game is over. Now, as the containee, he needed to expand earlier. The game could have been over 5 minutes ago. He could have had this expansion up and running, had it fully saturated by now, then on 2 base, brickroll me. Like, that is entirely possible. That is not hard. And he should have done that. Instead, he, for want of a better word, buggerized around, then took this expansion, which was a little stupid. Like, this expansion, yes, it makes sure that he has to have his army here, but also if he fucks up, he loses one of his bases, and then we're both on 1 base. At this point, he's taking an enormous risk in that if I break this and kill this base and some workers, I'm on an even footing with him. Whereas if he took this, and I break his contain, he still has a far better income than me, and then but then if he'd taken this and then this, then he would have had 3 base on me, a far better income, and then if I'd broken this, it wouldn't have put us on even footing. So he's taking a bit of a risk in that if I break this contain, it means that we're on the same footing. However, on my end, this means that I have a nice mineral line to harass, and if I can get some good damage on it, I can slow down his income. So it's actually a good thing for me that he's expanded here, because it forces me to attack a mineral line, and when I break the contain, and if you break the contain, then you have a victory. Now, the big limiting factor on a contain is about the 20-minute mark, you're going to mine out. Now that's if you're mining fully. I was not mining fully. The other thing is I did have quite a substantial income, and I wasn't spending all of it. So we see here a little bit of a confrontation, which kind of went both ways. Like, both people have lost a reasonable amount of army. If we look at the army killed tab, he is ahead, but he's not stupendously ahead. Like, let's look at the units lost tab. Wow. Okay. Units lost tab, I'm actually winning. Like, I've killed more of his thing than he's killed a mine, so that's quite interesting, which puts me at an advantage of 400 minerals, which is quite interesting at this point, and that's what you want. So the other thing that I could have tried to do is get upgrades. I did have a forge. If I'd gotten upgrades, I would have had a slightly bigger advantage, and I did just take out his Vespene Geyser for a reason. Like, you've got to make sure, you've got to make their life a pain in the proverbial bumhole, and that's what I was trying to do. At this point, he's got an expansion over me. If we look at the income tab, he's got double the mineral income and almost double the gas income and triple the amount of workers that I have. So he's kind of steamrolling me. In a minute, he will get a lot of minerals. Like, he's just absolutely kicking my ass. At this point, I've got a warp prism. This is what I should have done earlier. You need to try and break the contain, which I didn't really do. And I'm going to try and drop the back of his base, try and get some economy damage done, because I need to be on a more even footing with this guy. I get lucky and I do spot this expansion a bit by fluke. And we do see him get a little bit harassed in the back of my mineral line. Here comes my biggest problem. I'm about to mine out, which is not a good thing. I do manage to deal quite a lot of damage here, actually. Like, he's pulling workers off the mineral line. 2 kills, 3 kills, 3 kills, 3 kills, 3 kills. So I do actually manage to deal a fair amount of damage with 4 stalkers, and probably a good thing. I mean, I didn't take out a stupendous amount of probes, but I took out enough that the drop was worth it. I did also lose the warp prism, which maybe wasn't the best idea. And now, now we're just kind of jockeying back and forth for control of this area. He does have force fields, which gives him the advantage, and I am able to pick off his probes, which also gives him the advantage. At this point, I took away a a warp prism to try and expand, and I do have just enough minerals to put down this expansion, which is important because I've just mined out. Like, at this point, I'm dead. I've lost. This is the point where you know you've lost because you have no income. For the next 100 seconds, he has a lot of income, I have no income, and that's not a good thing at all. I don't even think I have a bigger army value than him. Army value wise, yeah, he's a lot better than me. Army supply, you can see the, like, worker supply, army supply, you can see the way he's kicking my ass. However, if you take the phoenixes out of the equation, which is, how many of them does he have? He has 7 phoenixes. 7 phoenixes is 14 supply. So the phoenixes were good, like, they're intelligent, but they're not exactly needed. Like, they are hindering his route to killing me, in that they can't deal direct damage. If they were all void rays, then he would have a significant advantage. However, at this point he doesn't. He just has an army which is about the same size as me. However, he does now have level 1 weapons and armor, and that's the big advantage. And we had a bit of a banter over a pause. This is one of the funnest games I've played in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. This is why I'm casting it, and it was fun. It was very, very hard. This is what a contain... Okay. Ideal contain situation. Remove this block from existence. Okay, I'm on 1 base. He's on 1, 2, 3, 4. He's on 4 base to my 1 base. This is the point where you should be, and then you kill him. Because then you know without a doubt that I cannot survive. At this point, the chances of me surviving are like a bug on, like, a bar graph. I'm the height of a frickin' atom. He's the height of, like, the Twin Towers bar graph kind of thing. The only way I could possibly win is if he dropped, which is not likely. I mean, yes, it's possible, but it's not particularly likely. And this is the ideal drop situation, and he is looking around the map to try and figure out what's going on, and he does spot my expansion, which is the smart thing. And my thoughts at the moment are, well, he's going to pull some army off to deal with my expansion, so I should push and try and break the contain at the same time. At the moment, I'm in a little bit of trouble. I mean, I have 600 income to he triples my income. And he did kind of pull some army away to go deal with the expansion, but then he realized, oh no, I can't do that, and brought them back. And some good force field use there. He does cut off about a third of my army with force fields, and is then able to pick it off, because obviously I've been dancing back and forth here, and that was really good force field micro, because it meant that he could pick off a third of my army, and that gave him a massive advantage. I mean, we're dealing with 50 food to 132 food right here. That's not good. I'm even fighting alongside 2 cannons in a choke point, so that we both have about the same army size, and he's still winning. Like, no amount of micro at this point can win. And my income is now going down the toilet. He has 4,500 minerals. If that's one mistake I think he made, having 4 gateways. 5,000 minerals. That's 50 zealots. 50 more zealots. I wouldn't have how to deal with that. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. Like, chuck down 5, 6 more gateways. He could have done that a long time ago. On this income, you can chuck down that amount of gateways. Anyway, this is KEnODvT, bringing you a ladder match on my path to platinum. I'm hoping I'll get there today, although I doubt it, because I just won 2 games in a row. This one and a previous one. This is KEnODvT. Have a good one.